interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to a live edition of Vikings Uncensored Saturday night Norsefius special.
Yeah, I was going to say Norpheus is back.
And we
It's been
see
a while.
Norsefius in the chat, so we did it for you, buddy. Paula, we got looks like we got the technical difficulties from Rance the other night fixed. The YouTube crowd is showing up. Norsefius is here, Ant is here, Doc Proto's here, Dave is here, the whole crew. Thank you for joining. We're trying out a little bit different layout here tonight. Again, we moved over to a new streaming service since StreamYard decided they were going to bend us over a barrel and not even provide the Vaseline. So we moved to EVMux. A lot of cool features on here that I haven't quite figured out yet. So bear with us if there's any hiccups, but we're going to try a little bit of streaming the comments to the next to us there. And if something extremely pertinent pops up, we will click it on there, smash the, like this right here. I'm not meaning to hide Brunswick, but smash the like button, do the same. Thank you, Norsefius. Of course, hit the like, hit the follow, hit the subscribe. We are, of course, one NFL football game left for the year. Super Bowl, of course, coming up next week that I'm sure every one of us is extremely excited as all hell for because it's the two teams that we all wanted to see in there. Anthony taped the Senior Bowl and watching it now. Heard it was good. I watched most of it this afternoon. I was kind of in and out a little bit, but tried to pay attention to it. A few good players there. One guy I'm going to say that, and if you looked, he was the what they call the practice player of the week, and a guy that made himself a shit ton of money, I think, this week, is a guy from my alma mater, Gray Zabel. Played tackle mostly at NDSU, but moved inside. He was playing guard and center. Norsefius, Jack Beck, perfect ending to that. I won't spoil the ending since Ant hasn't watched it, but that was a quite an impressive end to the game. But there's a lot of guys played well. Of course, the Shrine game was Thursday night. There was a couple of guys there too that I was watching that looked like they kind of made a name for themselves. Anthony has officially adopted Gray Zabel as his draft crush. Okay, Norsefius, let's hear what you got to say about that. Put it in the chat and we'll fling it up on the screen. Bob, not overly impressed, I guess, with the Senior Bowl stuff, but and I mean it's not for everybody. It's an all-star game, but myself, I'm a self-professed draft nerd, and I love that kind of the off-season stuff almost as much as I like the game itself. So he's Travian Henderson out of Ohio State. Okay, Another good player, but what is the snow you're referring to? Yeah, I'm not quite sure what it is either, Doc. We don't have much of it here. This pretty sad that Clearwater and a lot of places in Florida have had more snow this winter than we have up here in North Dakota. So, yeah, weird times, I guess. But anyway, the we'll talk about some of the draft class and some of these guys coming out and positions of need in future episodes. But tonight we just kind of wanted to take a look at the pending free agents for the Minnesota Vikings. Who is Vikings and Chris Cooper need to either visit and learn from or hire the NDSU O-line coach. North Dakota State has been an offensive line juggernaut for decade. I mean, NDSU has always had a great offensive line and defensive line. I mean, they know how you win games is to build in the trenches, and NDSU has done that to perfection. Of course, winning 10 national championships in the last 13 years. Ryan is here. Hopefully, he doesn't pull a Dylan Radens. I mean, Zabel's a real deal. I think he's, there's been a lot of NDSU guys that have made it on the line, but just that position flexibility he was showing today. Moving from his natural tackle position, and he did play a little bit on the inside, during his time at NDSU, but moving. There was a couple of plays I watched him, especially early on when he was playing guard. He was just pancaking guys and pushing them all over the place. I mean, and that's something that, the Vikings do need. So,
I mean, I believe, and this is kind of ties in with the episode tonight. I think we're going to address our interior of our offensive line through free agency.
I do too.
The case is going to be, and that unless we absolutely love somebody that we know is going to be there at 24, I don't foresee us taking an interior offensive lineman that high in the draft, and just because there are some great free agents coming out, which we will discuss coming up here.
Now, to Norsvius's point here on this one, I'm going to pop it back down quick. He's definitely made himself to a point where I think he could sneak into the end of round one. Right. Coincidentally, the Vikings are picking at 24. Prior to this, I figured he was a day 2 pick, mid-second rounder, third round
and
maybe.
Just goes to show you how important the Senior Bowl actually is to some of these guys that play in it.
Especially to like offensive linemen and stuff where you get, and guys from the smaller schools, FCS and some of these group of 5 schools, things like that, where they maybe aren't going up against your Alabamas, your Ohio States, your LSUs and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that game in the Shrine Game really elevates a lot of these guys' draft stock, and it goes a long way into where they end up as far as the draft pick goes, or which round or whatever that may be.
Yeah. Dean, good evening. Rather extend Byron or Murphy. We're going to keep one. We're going to get into that here in just a minute. And that, again, that's the premise of the show tonight. We're going to go over the Vikings free agents and kind of pick who we think should stay, who we think should take a walk.
It's kind of the same thing that we do every year, actually.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a tradition we do at this time of year. We kind of go, because free agency is 6 weeks away, middle of March.
Yep.
So, not a lot of time to figure this stuff out. And some of these guys, they can negotiate with them now if they want to, and hopefully get some of these guys signed before they hit the free agent market. And
I think it's possible, Steven, that we do at 24. I would not be against it. If we can go and get like somebody like Caleb Johnson at 24, I jump on it. But honestly, I think that Quessie's going to trade back. I think that's what he's going to end up doing.
I do too. I think that's the way things are going to play out, is that
depending on what the comp picks are that we get, this year.
Way it sounds, we're going to get one. But, I can very easily see, unless there's a guy sitting there that they absolutely love at 24, if there's some guys that, a couple guys that they like and they can move back to 29, 30, someplace like that, Drews to a
Yeah.
good evening, then I think that's what they're going to do. They're going to move back and pick up, a third. And,
Yeah, I could see
depending.
us trading down just to get some more picks. But that if you're doing that, you have to make sure that you come away with the guys that you covet.
Yeah. You can't, do what Kwesi did his first draft and just trade back just to basically trade back and end up, giving up a Kyle Hamilton. And I'm not going to be that guy that's going to say, oh, we should have drafted Kyle Hamilton instead of Lewis Cine. But,
Well, you knew I wasn't happy with that Lewis Cine pick right. I think that was might have been the first year we started doing the show, or the second year.
Yeah.
But I did not like that pick off the bat right
No.
away. But it was his first year as a GM, and I think he's gotten better. And I think a lot of these guys that he has picked these last couple of drafts very well may step up into a great role on this team.
Well, and I think last year's draft, there's the definite potential coming out of that one. I think it's a stark difference from what we saw year one and year two. But
and he's been lucky to be able to make up for it in other ways.
Yeah. Oh yeah, free agency, he's hit a home run every time.
And undrafted rookie free agency as well.
Yep. And there's no most likely scenarios right now. They're not sitting here 2 months out from the draft saying, we're going to trade back from 24 and we're going to pick a defensive tackle at pick 30. It all depends on how the board falls out. It all depends on you have to have a trade partner, if there's a hot shot, wide receiver or something that's sitting there at 24 that somebody at 29, 30, needs, then you can find a trade partner and you can move back. But
it's like we said earlier, unless there's somebody that we absolutely covet at number 24, I think trading back is a big option.
Yeah. Dave with a very good point here. Players moving up now may fall or be surpassed by others at the combine. Things are fluid this time of the year.
And it truly does ebb and flow up until the exact draft day.
Yep.
I mean, there might be guys going into the final week before the draft that are really high up and something happens and they drop.
Yeah, they do a Laramie Tunsil with the freaking weed mask on or whatever. But, I mean, Dave is absolutely right there. Pro days and the underwear Olympics at the combine, are going to make some of these guys jump and fall. I mean, honestly, what they saw in practice this week at the Shrine Bowl and the Senior Bowl should probably play more, have more weighting than watching a guy run the 40 at the combine. But there's some recency bias and stuff that falls in there too. And, the media falls in love with some guy that's runs a 4.28 40 or something like that. And he may end up like Troy Williamson, couldn't catch a cold, but
jeez.
Skull Mom, good evening. McCarthy, absolutely.
Yes, I'm ready. We've been ready since he got drafted for the McCarthy era.
So thank you, Skull Mafia, for that, because that leads us right into let's get started on this whole free agency thing here. The Vikings have 29 total free agents upcoming. I mean, that's
going to be much younger next season.
Yeah, I mean, this is half of the 53-man roster is free agents. I mean, 3 of these guys they have already re-signed, so there's some of that. But let's start off on the offensive side of things because there's fewer guys over there than. Let's start off. We're going to do like we do every year. We're going to list off.
Comment, Drew with the great comment at the bottom there.
That one there, yep. No need, yeah, that's absolutely right, Drew. And that's the mock draft things that everybody are pushing out there right now is they're mocking players to teams that need them right now. But after free agency, we might go out and get Trey Smith and Drew and Dahlman out of Atlanta. And we've got 2 of the 3 interior offensive line spots sewn up. So then interior offensive line isn't much of a
That's what I'm saying, for sure. Exactly. The conversations are going to be a lot different as it ebbs and flows up until the draft.
The only thing I like about mock drafts at this point in time is it kind of gives a perspective of where some of these players are kind of falling. So the Vikings are picking at 24. There's a list of 6 guys that may be in that range, and if there's somebody that we'd like, I use it more as a research tool at this point in time
Yeah.
than I really do of any. But anyway, let's start off with the free agents. Like I said, we have 29 total as it sits right now. The total cap space at one point in time, I thought it said 70 million. The Vikings were close to. Now over the cap today showed just over 58, which is still,
What?
yeah, it's still 7th most in the league. But I'm not sure where the numbers are.
Right. Where's that other 20 million in cap space that we're supposed to have?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just going by the numbers I looked, and yeah, that didn't seem right
No.
to me. So I don't know if there was something that whoever came up with the 70 million wasn't figuring in, and we don't know what the cap is going to be at right now either. It could be that the cap goes up higher and we do have a little bit more space, but
Either way, we
anyway,
got the money to work with. We all know that. So
yep. So let's start off on the offensive line. We traded for this guy midway through the season when Darisaw went down. Left tackle Cam Robinson is a free agent. What do you think there, Lance?
I think he's going to want to go somewhere where he has a chance to start. And if Christian Jerisaw is ready to go come week 1, I don't foresee him sticking around. I wasn't really impressed with how he regressed as the season went on. To me, it's a toss-up. Do I think we absolutely need him back? No, but would he be good for like a swing tackle, like an upgrade from Questenberry? Yeah, I think so. Questenberry is on his last leg. So, I mean, the right deal, I'd be okay with it, but he's not starting. That's
Yeah.
given.
Anthony, he's not the worst tackle ever. There are plenty worse tackles. This team has had plenty worse tackles, but I agree with Brunswick on this. Unless they figure that Darisaw is not going to be ready until mid-season or something like that, then I could see.
Yeah, I like Rouse too. I do.
I like Rouse, but it sounds like they're looking at maybe moving Rouse inside to play guard. And we don't know what Rouse is able to do. I mean, you could put him out there and he could be the Ed Ingram of left tackles.
Yeah,
I mean,
all we've seen from Rouse really is preseason tape, and that's about it. I mean, as far as that goes, but he did look pretty decent then. So
yeah. Okay, so Dave, your earned bonuses from play that determined is unlikely to be earned is figured in. Okay, that would explain it. You got guys like Darnold makes an extra $2 million that maybe wasn't figured in there because of how well the season went. Dean, I have heard some rumblings about that. I'm not necessarily a guy that's big on moving
I'm not
these
either.
guys around from their natural positions. We've done that time and time again, and it doesn't.
And we've discussed it way back on previous episodes about moving tackles to guards.
Yeah, Norrisvius is not a big fan of Rouse. Robinson allowed like 18 pressures in his last 2 games.
As I said,
Yep.
as the season went on, he really regressed along the line. His first game as a Viking was probably his best game as a Viking, to be honest.
Yeah, his first 2 or 3 were decent, but and we don't know that. You can speculate if you want to, but we have no idea how good or how bad Rouse is. He's a 7th. What was he? A 6th or 7th round pick, whatever he was.
He was a late pick.
Yeah, I mean, he might turn out to be something good. He may never be anything more than a backup. I mean, we can't. I'm going to put it this way: we cannot go into the season looking at with Rouse as one of our starters and being
next.
Yeah.
Fuck this Cam Robinson talk now.
All right. So next we have the guards. Dalton Reisner.
Has the Dalton Reisner experience come to an end? I would be okay bringing him back as a backup, as a reserve, on the right deal. Hopefully we go out and we get somebody that can start and play at a high level. There's guys out there that are coming out in free agency right now that are a step above Reisner as far as talent goes. So, I mean, I wouldn't be against bringing him back on a backup deal. But as far as him starting, I'm ready to move forward with somebody else there. If he wants to walk, let him walk. That's it for me.
Yeah, I mean, to me, Reisner is that the backup plan if the hot chick turns you down for the prom kind of thing. And we've seen that the last 2 years. He sat out there in free agency until we realized we decided we ended up needing him.
He's one of those guys that is good in the starting for a few games here and there, but not somebody that you want to have start the whole season.
Well, I mean, the thing with Reisner was actually probably our best interior offensive lineman for as far as pass blocking went this year. His
Yeah.
run blocking sucks, but you know, I wouldn't. I'd be okay with him being here as a backup. You know, or I would. But I would if you're going to keep on him. I would start him over Blake Brandel. But
Yeah. I mean, basically, we're both at the same juncture here. If he wants to walk, let him go.
yep. All right. Next guard, we got a bunch of guards on here. Dan Feeney, who
No.
I don't think he ever saw the field.
I think he might be a good locker room guy, but no.
Yeah,
I'm okay with
got a real sweet mullet, so we got to give him that. But yeah, Feeney was there for emotional support or whatever he was there for this year because he was that Brett Jones kind of Sasquatch thing. We never actually we saw him walking, in a couple of times, but we never actually saw him on the field. So then we had this other one. He must have been a practice squad guy. I don't even remember this one, but Jeremy Flax is a free agent.
Just a name.
Just a guy.
Sorry, Jeremy, if you're out there watching.
Yeah. Henry Bird, who played pretty well in the preseason last year.
A few times, yeah.
He was on the practice squad. They have re-signed him to a futures contract, so he's.
I was going to say, he'd be somebody that would be nice to keep around for developmental purposes, not as far as going to play anytime soon.
Yeah, so he'll be here for camp anyway. Then tackle David Quessenberry.
See, we just brought him up just a minute ago, and he's good as a spot guy for sure, a swing tackle that you can call upon if needed. He is getting really long in the tooth, though. He's been around the league for a while. At this point, if we're going to stick with Rouse, then I think Rouse steps in and takes Quessenberry's spot, or Robinson, one or the other. So,
bear with me 1 second. I'm going to do something a little different here.
Oh, there you go.
Then if I do this, we don't hide perfect. Brunswick. I think that works better.
Mid-show shenanigans.
Yeah, well, kind of nice. That's one thing that's nice with this is I can adjust things on the fly if I don't like the way they look. And
right. What's your take then on Quessenberry?
He's good to come in and spell somebody for.
I think you let one of these younger guys take that spot.
Yeah, I'm not going to lose any sleep at all over David Quessenberry not being on the team next year.
No.
So,
like I said, he is long in the tooth. He's getting up there in age. I think it's time that you let one of these other younger guys that are chomping at the bit to work their way up the depth chart.
Yeah, I would agree. Then let's move on to the skill players here. Starting off with the running backs. Aaron Jones, one of the big names.
See, that we mentioned earlier, or we've discussed a little bit earlier in the show. I think that's a position that you can go out in the draft and find somebody. We are in dire need of fresh legs in Minnesota at running back position. It was up and down for Aaron Jones for me as far as the season goes. There wasn't much of. You got some good yards out of him, but there was none of those explosive plays, really. They were far and in between with Aaron Jones. And we need somebody that's going to be able to hit the home run every once in a while at running back.
Yeah.
And I think it's going out and getting some fresh legs. We've been riding veterans at running back for the better part of a half a decade now. It's time to go out and get another guy.
I'm going to go with Drew on this one. I would bring back Aaron Jones. He's a hell of a locker room guy, and he still produces. I mean, he had his highest.
I don't know as a number one guy though. I don't think
that's where what I was getting at. I want him as your third down back, your change of pace guy.
No, if he's coming in, if he's coming in to like help a young buck along, that's absolutely a good idea, Rhino.
Yeah.
Yes, to mentor.
We need that guy with that home run hitting ability. You know, the
And he's a
Dalvin
great,
Cook.
like you said, a great locker room guy. Aaron
Yeah.
Jones is, you know.
Yeah. Now this is a very deep running class. I forget who mentioned it earlier about drafting a running back. There's going to be a ton of really good guys in those mid rounds, fourth roundish type area where I think you
You know
can.
what though, Rhino? Running backs getting a little bit more valuable nowadays. It's kind of ebbs and flows as the seasons go on. Sometimes
It does.
running backs, the value goes down. But with the way Saquon Barkley helped out the Eagles and the way Derrick Henry helped out the Ravens in that running game and the way James Cook has done in Buffalo, that running back position's starting to get a little bit more.
Yeah, no, and I agree, and that's but like to Drew's point, I'm not paying Aaron Jones $7 or $8 million a year. If he
No,
wants to
no,
come here for 4 million, yeah, I'm all up for that. But
we're in dire needs of a young pair of legs though, some fresh fucking tires.
yeah, to Drew's point exactly, there is a shit ton of really good running backs in this class. I mean, this is a down year for wide receivers, but it is a up year for running backs. So there are plenty of very good backs, you know, that can catch the ball out of the backfield, that can hit that home run and stuff, that are going to be available in the third through fifth rounds.
Yeah.
So I'd bring Jones back, but with the caveat that he's going to be sharing time with a young guy.
As much as I like Aaron Jones, I'd rather go after somebody like a Najee Harris on a couple of year deal or something like that.
I'm not a big Najee Harris fan. I really haven't been for a couple of years. I mean, he's okay, but he's kind of in that same boat. And you know what you got with Aaron Jones, and it's really there isn't much drop off to go between Aaron Jones and Najee Harris. So
Yeah, I mean, it's the age thing too. For me, there at running back, but the thing is we need somebody that's a step up over, somebody that's a notch above Aaron Jones or a Najee Harris.
yeah, Judkins is a good running back. Devin Neal is a good one. J.K. Dobbins, no, I'm not. Dobbins, there again, when we're talking about the home run hit, Dobbins isn't that guy. Najee Harris isn't that guy. He's
He's not. He's
he,
not.
he
But I
he's
mean, the age is young.
he's that more bruiser back. And if you want to get Najee Harris and not Aaron Jones and pair him with a young speedster, I can go for that.
Oh, Drew's on my wagon there for Harris.
Yeah, Drew's a Najee Harris fan. But anyway,
I think Harris is a younger version of Aaron Jones with a little bit more physicality to him. But
RJ Harvey, yeah, he's a guy. He played in the Senior Bowl today. He looked really good. That's a guy I'm going to keep my eyes on. Bob,
I love
we would all love Jonty, but there's no way we're going to get him. He's going to go top 15.
Caleb Johnson, man, out of Iowa is good shit.
Caleb Johnson out of Iowa is another good one. But
Jordan Mason's a hell of a back. The shot that he got there in San Francisco, I like his running style as well.
Yeah, no,
Stephen Jones-esque.
Yeah, if you could get Jordan Mason even and forgo the whole drafting a running back, sure.
I'd take. Is Jordan Mason a free agent?
I don't know.
If that was the case, I would definitely jump on that train.
Yeah, I would I could definitely go for that, and I think the Vikings probably would too. But
I agree, Drew. Yes, that's a great point.
Well, there is that too. Yeah, Trevion Henderson. Yeah, like I said, I'm not going to get into the draft stuff too much here. We got plenty of time to talk about that.
Any other free agent running backs that we're going to talk about? Cam Akers?
Cam Akers. I mean, Kevin O'Connell loves him for one reason or another. I wouldn't.
Mason is a free agent.
Mason, then if Mason's a free agent, then I'm on the.
Get rid of Jones, get rid of fucking Akers, and bring in Mason and go draft another guy. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, Jordan Mason, I would be all in because when he had to step up and start for that first half when McCaffrey was out, he played really well.
He's Derrick Henry 2.0.
Yeah,
I mean, He's a physical back that can get some speed built up and go.
But he's faster. Yeah, he's not as big as Derrick Henry, but he's
He's
kind
just
of
as physical, though. I tell you
yeah.
that. That dude's a beast.
Dowdle.
No,
Nah, I'm not a huge Dowdle guy. Cowboys are probably going to go after Gianti if he's still there. I think that's where he lands, honestly.
I
But
could see that.
that very well might be Drew.
Akers can go. Akers can
Yeah,
go.
I again, he played well in a couple of spots this year, but yeah, I'm
He
not going to
did.
lose any sleep over
He
him.
showed up in some big moments when the rest of the team did not.
Yep,
Or most 3/4 of the team didn't.
yep. All right, on to the tight ends. The only one free agent we have is Johnny Munt.
Well, KOC loves Johnny Munt. I would be surprised to see him go. Am I a big Johnny Munt guy? Not really, but I mean, he gets he gets the job done. So
Yeah,
I mean, I would like this. I would keep him around. I could see him sticking around. Am I going to be heartbroken if we don't keep him around? No, I'm not.
yeah. I think there's probably a decent chance that he does stick because he's good in the certain situations when you use him, but he hasn't put enough out there that I think he's going to command a big payday anywhere. And
No,
again,
no, he'll be
a-
available if we want him back.
again, he's a Kevin O'Connell guy. He knows the system and everything else, so I can definitely see Mutt coming back. Then on to the wide receivers. Speaking of another Kevin O'Connell guy, Brandon Powell.
I'm done with Brandon Powell. I we that speaking of which is a huge area we need to improve, and that is fucking the punt return game. And we've been talking about this for years now. We need
Uh,
somebody that can come in and do more than just get you a few yards when you punt. We need a playmaker in the punt return game is what we need.
yep.
We need a good specialist.
Before we get just answer Drew here, yes, Nick Muse is gone. Somebody plucked him off the practice squad, I think in week 18. So I don't remember. Or could he come back? Sure, but he's right as of right now. He's gone.
We need somebody punt returner that's gonna
Yeah, and that's
do
the thing. The
something
only
back.
Brandon Powell is taking up a roster spot. I mean, he didn't even get used very much in the passing game this year.
No.
So and
I'm not riding Powell at all, but
no,
I mean I'm ready to move on from Powell. We need just because he can safely bring in punts is one thing, but we need somebody back there that's going to return punts. That's going to be a playmaker of some sort.
Caesar Augustus, a new face. Good evening, welcome to the show. Trading T.J. Hawkinson, could use that cap space for another guard. They're not going to trade Hawkinson. A guy like Hawkinson is going to be invaluable for a young quarterback.
It sounds like McCarthy and Hawkinson get along really well too.
Yeah.
And where I'm going with that is this is what I was thinking because I read somewhere here that McCarthy targeted his tight end in college about 26% of the passing snaps.
Yeah, so they're going to want somebody in there like Hawkinson for McCarthy. So,
I mean, you seen how McCarthy liked Loveland and at Michigan there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Loveland was a big part of that offense when
Yes.
McCarthy was there. So, then on to the other wide receiver, Trent Sherfield.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be okay with it. It depends on what's available. I mean, I'm not going to be sad if he goes, but he's a good special teams player.
Really, yeah, he is a really good special teams player. He's a hell of a blocker, and I think he's going to be.
He made some timely receptions throughout the season too when we needed it.
Yeah, so I think Sherfield is a guy that they could probably bring back.
He could be a bubble guy come training camp, I believe.
Yep.
Turpin, yes, I would love that. That would be huge. That would be huge.
No, absolutely.
In a Powell type of role. In a Powell type of role. Exactly.
Wide receiver 4 and punt returner. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, if you can bring him in, I'm all for that. We need a punt return game. I think our longest punt return this year was 15 yards. That's not good enough.
That's probably been our longest punt return in the last fucking 5 years.
Yeah.
I mean, Hawk not being able to find the end zone this year. A lot of that has to do with him coming in 10 games into the season and not really having that rapport with Sam Darnold, and Darnold looking more at the deeper routes.
Yeah.
Darnold liked those deep routes. He has issues. He had issues in the past and this season throwing the underneath routes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it was all as much of KOC's play calling as it was as much as Darnold not wanting to throw underneath.
Yeah. I'm not going to argue that. We've talked about that a lot.
JJ is going to nail those fucking throws.
Yeah. Speaking of JJ McCarthy, as it sits right now, we have 5 quarterbacks on the roster, and
2 of which are under contract.
all of them except McCarthy are free agents. Now, they did re-sign Brett Rippon already to a futures contract or whatever, so he's here as a practice squad guy at the very least. But let's start off with Daniel Jones.
I would like to get him back in a backup role. Is that what Jones wants to do? That I don't know, but it comes down to what Jones thinks is best for Jones. I would like to get him back as a backup, but that he would be a true backup. Actually, I believe it.
Yeah,
one of the actual true backups that we've had in a while. I mean, Mullins, average backup, but you get somebody like Daniel Jones that can actually come in and win you a couple games. Would be huge. And like I said, it comes down to what Jones wants to do and where he wants to go. If he can go somewhere else and get a chance to start, that might be what he wants to do. But if he wants to stay at KLC University and continue to learn and get better, then he'll stick around here.
Yeah, I could easily see him signing a 1-year deal and coming in. Now, Anthony said, I heard the Vikings are interested in Garoppolo. Yeah, I've seen that rumor too. I don't know. Any of this right now is pure speculation because they're not supposed to be talking to agents and players and all that other stuff. But yeah, I would like to see Daniel Jones as our backup quarterback next year.
Right. And then only having to carry 2 or having like a Ripon on the practice squad stashed away.
Yeah, and I think ideally that's what you would do, unless you go find somebody like a Max Bromer or a somebody like that.
And Daniel Jones has some of that JJ McCarthy game to him. So I mean, as far as game planning goes and all that, you could work the same kind of game plan that you'd work, to a point that you would have for McCarthy that you could do with Jones as well.
Yeah, and having somebody that's been around for a little bit that can.
Yeah, I love that comment, Norse. I love it. I love that comment.
Yeah. Cam Miller made himself some money this week at the Senior Bowl, or he was at the Shrine Bowl. He went from probably an undrafted guy to a mid to late round guy, probably a 5th rounder or something like that. He's a developmental guy. Kid is smart and knows how to, and he's got, can run. He's a true dual threat quarterback, but he's not somebody that you're going to look at, to be a starter or something. He's going to be a backup someplace, and he probably will make a good career out of holding a clipboard. But, we can't, I don't want to go in there with a bunch of rookies that don't have any NFL experience, and that's where Daniel Jones, I think, would be very good in here.
I think if not Daniel Jones, Nick Mullins is your next best bet at coming back as a backup.
Speaking of Nick Mullins, he is also a free agent. So
that ties hand in hand with Daniel Jones. It happens. It just goes along with whatever happens with Jones. You go and you try to attract Jones to come back, and if you can't do that, then you go to Mullins or if you covet like a Garoppolo, I guess, then you do that route. But I think first and foremost is you approach Jones with the chance to come back on the same type of deal that Darnold had last year, and go from there. Maybe a little bit less than that. Not quite 10 mil. But
if he goes in knowing he's going to be the backup, I'd give him 7 mil, something like that.
There you go.
Yeah. Nick Mullins to me is the same thing with Dalton Reisner. He's the backup plan in case the hot chick won't go with you to prom, kind of thing.
Right. Yeah.
Not a guy that you want to start.
I agree, Drew. I believe in that so much.
Yeah, I do too.
I truly believe, and all you guys knew McCarthy. Well, even Rhino too. Our draft crush was JJ McCarthy.
Yeah.
So
I had 3 guys in the quarterback class that I wanted one of the 3. I either wanted Drake May, I wanted JJ McCarthy, or I wanted Jaden Daniels, and
The
Jaden
thing with
Daniels turned out
McCarthy
to be
is
a stud this year, but
when I went back and watched McCarthy's tape and watched, not just his highlights, but
yeah,
actual him playing the games, I fell in love with him. I mean, I just have that feeling in my stomach that he's going to bring great things for this organization.
I think so. And just his attitude out on the field. I mean, just how he is. The first guy running down the field. There was a game. I think it was against. Was it Drew? You can tell us because you're the Michigan guy. But was it the Iowa State or the Iowa game or Iowa State game where McCarthy was sprinting down the sidelines as the lead blocker for the
And that's
on
just
that
one of the
one?
many reasons why I love this kid.
Yeah, that Blake Corum scored a touchdown on that play, and
And the
he's
ice that runs through his veins.
yeah, and I think that in kind of infectious kind of attitude that McCarthy has it's kind of Brett Favre-esque, just the way he plays the game.
And I don't think the lights will ever be too bright for that kid.
Yeah,
You know,
Iowa game. Okay, I knew it was either Iowa or Iowa State. I couldn't remember which one, but yes. Yeah, and that's the thing. This kid has played under the brightest lights, and has
and under
not.
the same scrutiny his entire career, and done nothing but go and win championships
The
on every
kid,
fucking single level that he's played on.
the kid has lost 3 games since high
Go
school.
back and watch the kid throw darts at IMG. If you don't think the
Yeah.
kid can throw the
Well,
ball around the field, go back and watch his IMG tape.
2 years ago when they got beat by TCU, he came in that thing at that post game press conference and
The
said
attitude.
he said this isn't acceptable. We're winning the national championship next year. What the hell did they do? They went undefeated and won the national championship.
You know what? And crucify me for saying this, but this kid truly, to me, in my eyes personally, has that Patrick Mahomes feel to him. So, I said it before. Before the season started, I said in a few years, people are going to be talking about JJ McCarthy like they talk about Patrick Mahomes.
Hey, I would love for the Vikings to get to a point where they're the ones that everybody hates because we're going to. Patrick Mahomes has been to the AFC Championship game every year of his career.
Yeah.
Going for a three-peat, stuff like that. There's no reason why that can't happen for us. And I think JJ McCarthy is a guy that can get this team to at least get us a Super Bowl win.
Look at the resume that KOC has and the guys that he's had playing for him at quarterback. He's finally got his guy. I can't wait to see this evolve and see what happens. He got the most out of Dobbs. He's gotten the most out of Darnold. What's he going to do when you bring in this young buck that's hungry as shit to prove to the world that he has what it takes? I can't wait to see where this goes.
Yep. So anyway, talking through all that, the other quarterback on the list, of course, Sam Darnold. I don't see a scenario where Darnold comes back because it's a weak free agent quarterback class and it's a weak draft class. So I think, Darnold's going to get paid somewhere. He's going to get, a Baker Mayfield deal, maybe a little better, 35 to 40 mil a year.
I think he goes to Vegas.
I think that's a very likely spot. Pete Carroll needs a quarterback out there, so I think that would be a good spot for him. There's plenty of places that need quarterbacks. The Giants need a quarterback. New Orleans, they got Derek Carr, but there's a few places where he could step in, and I've even heard that the Indianapolis might be interested in him. Zone, good evening. Long time no see.
Grant is at the top of my list at defensive tackle this year.
That guy is a monster. I would love to have him too. And if he's a guy that's sitting there at 24, I seriously would consider sticking and picking.
There was another guy that I was watching, number 0, fucking like a 342 pounder that plays on all 4 spots on the defensive line. And I don't remember where he's from, but he is an animal. I'll let you guys know next week on the next show.
Yeah.
He could play stand-up linebacker at 342.
Yeah. So anyway, that's the offensive side of things. Let's roll on to the defensive side. We got a lot more guys to get through here tonight. So a lot of big name guys on the defense and a lot of guys that were big contributors. Starting off with the hitman, Harrison Smith.
I think it comes to everybody thinks he's going to retire, but you know what? Just when you think the guy's going to retire, he decides he'll go out fishing, do his own things, whatever he wants to do, and then at the last minute, he'll, you know what? I want to play again. It would not surprise. We thought last year he was going to hang him up, Rhino, and what he did exactly what I just said. I think it comes down to what does Harrison Smith want to do, and if he's willing to take, because he's not going to be able to play out his contract. He's going to have to restructure to come
Well,
back.
his contract voids at the end of the year. So he would need a new deal to come back.
I mean, if he wants to come back, I think Flores welcomes him back in open arms. His play hasn't dropped off to a point to where you're like he's a liability on the field starting him.
No,
So
and I think
and he's
Flores
great
com-
for the younger guys.
I think
And that
Flores coming back probably makes it a little more likely that Harrison Smith comes back.
and the fact that the team was as competitive as it was this season, it gives light to Smith saying, okay, maybe if I just do one more year, we can go to the ship.
Yeah, disgusting act is a pushing Walter Nolan. Yeah, he's definitely a guy I got my eye on too. I got to
It,
start. I haven't started doing film breakdown on these guys yet, but I gotta.
it makes it a lot easier to retire when you end on a bad season. I mean, like when you're not winning games throughout the regular season. I mean, yeah, we lost a playoff game, but when you go and you have a season like we did this year, I think Smith is going to really think about it.
Yeah. Drew, that's a very good question. I don't think that we do, and that brings us to the next guy on the
Back to the
list.
question that we got asked earlier.
Cam Bynum, also a free agent now.
I think the plan all along has been to bring back Cam Bynum, and I think
and they're both Bynum and the Vikings are open to an extension, and they're talking. It sounds like they're already talking a little bit.
Yeah, I think the plan all along has been for Bynum to come back, and I believe that's what will happen.
Yeah, it all depends on it. Bynum thinks he's going to go out and reset the safety market, which Bynum's a good safety. I like Cam Bynum, but
I know Bynum likes being here, so that
he does.
Too.
And the team likes having him here. I mean, so I think there's common ground there, and I wouldn't be surprised to see a deal get done there.
Now, with the question that came up earlier, I think it was Steven that asked us, Jativa, about if we had to choose between Murph or Bynum, who would you choose? So I'd go with Bynum. I like Murph, but that just depends on who else we get at corner, because the only reason, I don't think it's the only reason, but Murph played really well this season in a large part due to the guys that we had on the outside.
Yeah,
and with being able to slide him into the corner.
Murph is a slot corner. Murph
right.
is a slot corner. He's not an outside corner.
And the season prior to that is when we had him playing outside, and he did not do nearly as good as he did this season.
Yep. So anyway, one more safety. Theo Jackson, also a free agent.
You bring him back. They like Theo Jackson around here, and I think the thing is that they're looking at him to be the guy that takes over when Smith ultimately retires.
Yeah, I think Theo comes back, whether or not Harrison Smith retires.
That Flores really likes, and I believe KOC as well. He's one of those guys that they think is going to be a starter at some point.
Yeah. All right, next guy, since he's already been talked about here quite a bit, Byron Murphy Jr.
For the right price, if he wants to break the bank, then you let him walk. If he wants to come back on a team-friendly price, then yeah, you sign him again. But like I said, it all plays into what our plans are at the outside positions, because you're going to get the same Murphy you got in 2022 if you decide to put him outside, and then you're going to get the same Murphy you got in 2023 if you decide to keep him at nickel.
Yeah.
So that it comes down to what you're going to do on the outside.
Yeah.
Murph.
I mean, the question was posed a little while ago, which one, either or. For the right price, I bring them both back.
Well, yeah, for the right price, yeah.
But
bring them back.
yeah,
and young too.
And that's the one thing with Kwesi. He's a numbers guy. He's going to have a number that, if Murphy will sign for this or less, they absolutely bring him back. If he's going to go above that, then you walk away. So I'd like to have him back, but I can see him going.
Right, and getting paid somewhere for sure.
Yep. All right, next guy on the list, Stephon Gilmore.
He's looking at he's in the same boat as Smith is right now as far as deciding whether or not he wants to keep playing or retire. So
I think. No, go ahead.
And this plays into another thing too. You know what I said about the running back position needing fresh legs? We need a playmaker at defensive back. We do. We've been direly missing. I mean, yeah, we got a lot of picks this last year, but as far as I couldn't tell you if I think Gilmore and Shaq Griffin only had one pick apiece.
Yeah.
between the two. Murph had, I think, 6 or 7
Murph had 7.
from the slot. But we need a big shutdown type of guy on the outside.
Yeah. I would say Gilmore is probably 75-25 that he
Yeah,
retires.
he's mulling retirement for sure. Yes.
I'd say it's more likely that he retires than Harrison Smith. So yeah, we get Blackman back next year, and
Yeah, man. A lot
Gilmore.
of people forget. A lot of people forget that we have Makai Blackman coming back. But
Yeah,
what type of player is he going to be?
Gilmore was that guy that we brought in after Blackman went out and tore his ACL the first day of practice.
Right.
You
And
know,
and the thing is how does he come back off of that torn ACL? Sometimes when you're that young, especially at a position like corner, it's hard and he was still developing.
Yeah.
So I mean, how is he going to come back in? Is it going to be too much weight on his shoulders expecting him to start on the outside right away?
Well,
I think that should be a priority in free agency too, right there with the offensive line is going out and getting a corner that can come in and be his number one starter.
I agree. But that leads us to the other cornerback, Shaq Griffin, also a free agent.
I would like to see him stay, to be honest
Me too.
with you, on a 2-year deal.
We talked about him. He was one of the more underrated guys on this defense all year. You hardly heard his name. That's because he was doing his job.
We played good.
They weren't throwing at him.
Yes.
Exactly,
Josh. That's what I was saying.
Before I forget, I promised my buddy that I would do this.
It's upside there. You go.
There we go. I had a buddy make this for me this week. He's got a little metal shop stuff he's doing. So I told him I'd put it on, show it on the show. Pretty sweet. It's going to go up on the wall there at some point in time, but I just have not had a chance to do so yet because I just got it the other day. But
yeah, Josh, I don't know if you heard me earlier, but I think a lot of that had to do with Murph play on the outside. That's why he was so bad the year before.
Yeah.
McLaughlin, I liked what I see McLaughlin, but I think it's going to take him another year before you really see him get that playing time.
Yeah, but now he played pretty well in the limited time he did. I mean, he was one of the higher ranked cornerbacks when he played. So, Drew, I'll talk to you offline on that. I can hook you up with him and we can go from there. Onto the defensive line. First off, defensive tackle Jerry Tillery.
I don't know. He had moments, but not any moments where I'm like, you need to bring him back. I think he'll sit out in free. I don't think he has anybody that's going to be bidding in a bidding war with him. I think you let him see what the market says, and then if you can get him to come back, you get him to come back. But if he goes somewhere else, and then that's just what happens.
Yeah, I want to upgrade on the defensive line.
Well, it's a must. It's a must. I mean, that run defense was tremendous this year for us, but we need somebody that on the interior that can bring up some fucking heat. And Redmond's on the right track.
Yeah, Norris with a good point here. Tillery is probably cheap, and he did block 2 kicks this year. He also had 2 forced fumbles. So I'd bring him back I bring him in as a backup. I don't know that I want him as a starter.
Like I said, let him test the waters. If he's back there, if he's still there when you go back and look in the tank, then you off him or something.
Yeah, I mean, Jalen Redmond beat him out, as a starter for the last portion of the year anyway. Now,
I think Redmond's going to be a huge part of us going forward. This team,
and Redmond was on the free agent list, but they did already re-sign him. So,
which could end up being a steal, in my opinion, at the end of the day.
I think so too. And we keep talking about the need to get some pass rush out of that interior defensive line. Redmond maybe could be that guy.
Quiet storm that we didn't see coming.
Yeah.
And then if we go out and we address it in the draft, this year, then who's to say that we can't have a great interior up front come next season if we get the right guy?
Yeah. Drew, that's the next guy. That's the next guy on the list. Jonathan Bullard. Bullard is not better than Tillery.
Tillery over Bullard for sure. Bullard is not a priority to me. Tillery's more. I wouldn't go looking back in the tank and seeing if Bullard's still there, but I would go back and look in the tank to see if Tillery's still there. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah. To me, and I've used the prom analogy a couple times tonight. Bullard isn't even the backup. Bullard is taking your sister to the prom because even the ugly chick shot you down. So, He's just a guy. I'm not going to lose any sleep over Bullard one way or the other.
Well, Bullard's been here what 2 seasons
Three
now, and
three
hasn't
year,
really.
and he's been here
I
like
was gonna
three
say
years
three
now.
almost too, yeah, but he hasn't done much of anything.
No, I mean he's a good run blocker, but there again, he's not somebody that gets any kind of pressure up the middle at all.
Great point by Josh, our discussing act.
Yeah, there is that. Speaking of edge rushers, let's get into that now. We've got two of those. Pat Jones, of course, the biggest name on there.
I think Pat Jones chooses to go somewhere
I,
else.
I do too because he played well enough this year. I mean, he had what 7 or 8 sacks. So I think Jones gets paid somewhere else, and it's not here. I mean,
And a lot of those sacks, I mean, credit to Jones for getting them, but it was a lot of
the pressure coming from Grenard or somebody else on
yes,
the other
yeah,
side. Yep.
opportunistic sacks for sure that just kind of fell into his lap. I'm not downplaying Jones in any means. Those sacks were incredible and we needed them. But he's going to go make money somewhere, and he's going to continue to do what he has done here for us, and
Yep.
that's being good in
Pat
Scotland.
Jones this year had that DJ Wanham type of season. It
Yeah,
was
yes.
so he can go because we have Dallas Turner sitting behind, ready to go into that third edge rusher spot. So
Right, and people are losing their minds over that too. And I think the best is yet to come with Dallas Turner. So
yep. Then the other guy, edge rusher / defensive end, Jihad Ward.
I liked me some Ward. He was a quiet guy, but he did a lot of things that went unnoticed. Um, he was a disruptor, is the best way to put it.
Well,
He's the guy that you sent in as your goon.
he was that guy that you could put up as in the defensive end spot, and he could get
That
some pressure.
Yeah, the stat sheet doesn't do the guy enough credit. The guy did a lot of good things. He didn't put up a lot of stats, but he did a lot of good things that led to opportunities for other guys.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think he's a guy I'd like to see come back again for the right
Yes.
price. But he very good as the number 4 edge rusher. So I'd like to see him come back.
And the thing is that he wasn't just an edge rusher. He was that guy that was like your Swiss Army knife along the defensive line.
Yep. Oh, we do have one more cornerback. I forgot to mention Fabian Moreau.
No.
Yeah, I mean, just the awkward silence for
He's
30
a
seconds
training
while you
camp
try to
body
figure it out
at
there.
most right now. Training camp body for me.
Yeah.
I would be okay with seeing what he could put up throughout the offseason program. But as far as bringing him back to no, I'd be okay with him walking.
Yeah,
It's
I'm
fine.
fine with the two. Then two other guys, linebacker Camus Grugier Hill.
Yeah, I would. He's a good backup. He's a good stout backup to the
Yeah,
interior off-ball linebackers.
yeah, I would definitely bring him back. I mean, he played quite well filling in for both Ivan Pace and Blake
Yes,
Cashman when they were
yeah,
both out.
yes. You offer Hill a contract to stick with
Yeah,
the team.
I mean, he is our number 3 linebacker, and I think you want to try to keep him. So, then the last guy on the
Exactly,
list,
Doc. Exactly.
yeah, where's right there, one of those. Yep,
Jihad Ward.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. The other guy, punter Ryan Wright.
I mean, he's a punter. I mean,
Yeah.
have it open. Just have it open competition, and the best guy win. May the best guy get the job. I like me
Yeah.
some Ryan Wright. He did have a pretty good season this year, but with that position, you just keep it open every single year. Unless you find somebody that's just consistent, and you
Yeah.
just take the best guy that you can get.
Well, and that's the thing with him. We had 2022. He had a great year.
His rookie year.
2023, he was pretty ass. Now 2024, had a pretty decent season again. But
Yeah, if he's a free agent, you just bring in a few guys and the best man take the cake.
yeah. All right, then we have a few potential cuts where the Vikings could actually increase their cap space if they decide to move on from these guys. Let's start with the pallet in the room, I guess we'll call it. Garrett Bradbury, if they were to move on from him, they could save 3.6 million. It would cost them 2.4 in dead cap, though.
You know, Rhino, how long have we been calling for Bradbury's head on the platter here at Vikings Uncensored? How long have we been ready to be done with this Garrett Bradbury experiment?
Well, let's see. We are a month away from starting year 5 of this show. Hard to believe
And
it's been
every
that
single
fucking
year.
long. And
Every
we've been
single
talking
year.
about it I think we talked about it on our first show.
Yes. And if that's the case, you know what? There are some good free agent centers coming out. We could fix our whole interior offensive line just through free agency alone.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to get Dahlman out of Atlanta. He was one of the top rated
Yes.
centers this year.
Yes.
You put him in there, and you tell Bradbury, don't
let the door hit you in the ass on the way out.
Just let somebody forklift him right out the freaking door.
I want somebody that's fucking proven. And Bradbury's been in the league for how many years now, and he still has not fucking proven anything. I'm dropping.
Well, yeah, Bradbury has proven plenty. He has proven that he is absolute shit at pass blocking.
Right? How many chances does this guy?
I mean, I know they like the guy because he's smart and can call the protection.
So are other guys that are better suited at the position than he is.
Yeah, I mean, he can call the protections. He just can't execute the protections.
We haven't had a good center here since what's his nuts that went to the Los Angeles Rams.
Yeah. Drew likes Ryan Kelly at center for the Vikings. Kelly would be another guy that
anybody's an upgrade over Bradbury at this point.
Yeah. The thing with Kelly, he's getting up there in age, so that's more of a short-term fix. I think a guy like Dahlman, I think he's like 27, somewhere around in there, I think. So, I mean, you'd have him for potentially 5 years. Ryan Kelly is a 1 to 2 year Band-Aid probably. But, he's definitely on the table.
I'm done with Bradbury. I've been done.
I'm absolutely done. I'll pay the 2.4 in dead cap, get an extra 3.6, and put that towards,
the trenches need to get addressed.
Yeah,
that's what's holding us back. That's what we told you was going to be our Achilles heel to start the season. And what fucking happened?
To Kevin O'Connell's credit, he finally admitted that in his postseason press conference.
John Sullivan, thank you, Ant. Yes, John
exactly.
Sullivan was our last good center, and he was about middle of the pack, But our real last All-Pro center was probably going back to Matt Burke.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly, Norsefius. Dahlman is young and he's good and he could be here for a while. And that's who I want in free agency for two guys. I want
to. You get a Dahlman and a Trey Smith, and then there you go. And then you keep Brent on the left side next to Darisaw and continue to hope that he gets better.
Yeah. Speaking of Blake Brandel, he's another one that could be on the chopping block. You could save $2.58 million with only $1.3 million in dead cap if you were to move on from him.
Came out the gate hot this season, and fucking once Darisaw got injured, shit the bed.
Yeah, and he kind of falls into that same. He played great when he had a great player, or played well when he had a great player next to him.
Elevating his play.
So I'm going to go back to, I don't know, you guys saw Doogie Wolfson's talk about Bradbury on Purple Daily, I think it was earlier this week, that Bradbury, if he has two good guards next to him, plays okay. I mean, if you are somebody that needs to have all-pro play on both sides of you to not play like ass, you don't belong to be in the starting lineup.
Okay, Drew, with that comment, then who do you go get out of those two guys?
Yeah, I think Trey Smith is probably going to be priced out of what we're going to pay for him.
Then you go and you get Dahlman. Then you go and get
Dahlman. Trey Smith is the sexy name for offensive lineman this year. He's going to get a shit ton of money. He's probably going to reset the guard market.
Well, center is the third most important position on the offensive line outside of your bookends. And we've been proven that guards do matter too as well.
Zone abs. That's exactly the point I was getting at here. Trey Smith is going to command a huge contract, and he's going to get it someplace. Freeze would be
great. I'd be okay with Freeze too, or Fries. Excuse me.
Yeah, he'd be good.
And
to
he's
put
still
in there
young too.
too.
Fries is good, young, and he's still getting better.
Yep. And if
So
it
yeah,
goes,
that'd be okay.
if
I'd
you
be
could
okay
go
with
with if you could go with Fries and Dahlman, I'm good with that. And
the
then
dominant Fries. I'll take it.
yep. And then you could look at potentially getting a young guy to roll into the one of the guard spots. Whether it's any of these guys coming up out of the North Dakota State kid or some of these other ones that
Either way, in the Zob and podcast, we're all on the same page. That interior of the offensive line needs to be addressed in the offseason coming up here. Yes, 100%.
drafting a center.
However way we do it. We have not had luck drafting a center. I want to go out and get a proven guy. Somebody that's out there and proves that he can do the job.
Yeah, my problem with drafting a center, normally I'd be okay with that, but when you got a young kid like McCarthy coming in there, having somebody with
Great point, Rhino.
some experience in there, like a Ryan Kelly, like a Dahlman, one of those
Great
guys who been around the league for a little bit, I think that is going to be the way that they would look at that. What else we got? We got to have faith, absolutely. The next guy on the potential chopping block, linebacker Brian Asamoah.
I'm okay with him walking now. I was excited about him coming out, and that excitement has worn off in time.
Yeah. And with Asamoah, we save 1.45 if we cut him, and he's only got a $292,000 dead cap hit. So
I'd say he's as good as gone, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, he's just a guy that we've had high hopes for, and he just hasn't fit into that Flores scheme. He just it's I don't know if it's
I think a lot of that has to do, Drew. I think a lot of that has to do with the cap space that we've had in the last 10 years.
Yeah,
we haven't been able to afford to go find an offensive lineman, and the offensive linemen that we've drafted just haven't fucking panned out at all.
Yeah.
We have not been able to go out and get quality guys to put to work on the offensive line. And now that we actually have that space and salary cap, it's easier to say, hey, yeah, this offensive line hasn't been very good. We need to get it fixed. Now we have the money to go do that.
Ben Cleveland guard from Baltimore is a good young option. I mean, we really need two. So, I mean, you look at the best way to go around it. But then the last guy on the potential cut list, this guy is a fan favorite. He's a guy that's been around here a long time. Say he's kind of the same thing as with the Harrison Smith as far as longevity stuff, but fullback CJ Ham. You could save $2.65 million by cutting him with only $766K in dead cap.
See, this is the guy for the last 2 years I've been thinking isn't going to make the team. I've been putting him on the chopping block. I love me some CJ Ham. Don't get me wrong.
Who doesn't love Ham?
And I wish they would have given him some more carries out of the formation where they had him at tailback, but they didn't. Anyways, I would like to see him back, unless it depends on how this offense continues to move forward. Is it going to be more of it just depends. He's a guy that I wouldn't mind having back, but yet to be seen. He proves me wrong every year. The fullback is a dying breed in the league, and it's been a dying breed for the last 15, 20 years.
Yeah. Zone and Northfield both here.
Still incorporates a fullback at.
Yep. Bring in another running back at that spot. KFC doesn't use him. And that's the thing. Why have a fullback on the roster if you're not going to use him? I mean, yeah, he's great on special teams, and he's a captain, but
see, the thing is that they don't use him right, because they know when you see CJ Ham coming onto the field, you're running a big set. What are you most likely going to do? You're going to run the fucking football. So I mean, if they would actually give the guy some fucking a couple carries, 3-4 carries a game, just to keep defenses guessing.
Why don't they use him on those short yardage runs instead of lining everybody out, spreading them out 5 wide, and going in the shotgun on 3rd and 4th and 1?
And that's just it, Drew. That's why I've been saying that the last 2 years. Well, is Ham going to make the team? But they keep bringing him back.
Yeah,
I love me some Ham, but I mean, at the same time, if you're not going to utilize the fullback position and actually give the guy some carries to keep defenses honest, then why keep him on the roster?
No, I agree.
Or if your only priority is using him as an extra blocker, then so there's not somebody else that you can do that with. You can't bring in a tackle to block down there as a fullback every once in a while, like some teams do.
Go get a big bruiser of a running back to have as that thunder lightning mix up with somebody that can barrel into that line, because 70% of the runs we had last year had contact at the line of scrimmage.
Right. Well, we haven't been
a
able
lot
to
of that
run
is to do with the interior offensive line, but
we haven't been able to run a true 2 running back set in fucking years.
No.
Here. So I was calling for 2 running back sets back when Peterson was still carrying the ball, and we never got it. I would have loved to see Chester Taylor and Peterson on the field at the same time, or whoever else was McKinnon and Peterson at the same time on the field. But you never seen it.
Yeah. No, I agree, and it's not really KOC's style to run the 2 running backs kind of set, but again, with a young kid like McCarthy out there, you got to have a running game out there, to help him out. You can't just throw him out there and expect him to throw 40, 50 times a game.
And that's the only reason I would keep him around, Pro, is if we were going to use him as a ball carrier in some sense of the matter. But we don't. And Drew's exactly right. Why keep him around if he's not doing anything other than is he that elite of an extra blocker that you need to keep him on the roster? I don't know. I mean,
yeah, Doc is just fending off the apocalypse by keeping. It was kind of the old thing, when Marcus Sherrills was on here. The only 3 things that survive nuclear holocaust are cockroaches, Twinkies, and Marcus Sherrills. But
speaking of Marcus Sherrills, the last good punt returner we've ever had in this team.
Yeah, there's that too. Yeah. But anyway, that's kind of the list, and we've been going on for almost an hour, 15 minutes here tonight. Time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah, we had a lot of good talk between us and the commenters, or the viewers.
Yeah, still got really good viewership going. Appreciate you guys hanging with us entire night. If you haven't done so, make sure you hit that like button on the way out. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you have not. Follow us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter X. Big thanks again, everybody. Great comments, great discussion in the chat. You guys bring it every week, and that's why we do these live shows, because love talking football with you guys. It's a lot of fun. It's one of the high points of the week for us too. So thank you for taking an hour plus out of your busy schedules to join us. Shout out, of course, as always, to the Filipino fan club watching halfway around the world. Shout out to my lovely wife who fell asleep on the couch shortly before I started, so probably didn't see it tonight. But regardless to that, programming note going forward, we're putting Rhino's Rants on hiatus for the time being. Just not enough stuff really to talk about with 2 shows this week. So, for a while here. So just going to be the main studio show until we get closer to training camp again. Then we'll bring it up into 2 shows. But so with that, we'll be on again next weekend, where we will start doing some more breakdowns. We'll talk Super Bowl and a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of everything. So again, thank you guys for joining. Brunswick, why don't you take us out of here?
First off, foremost, fuck the Eagles. I don't want them winning the Super Bowl. I don't care for the Chiefs either. It is what it is. But fuck the Eagles. I don't want to see them winning the Super Bowl. So they're almost right there with the Packers as much as I dislike that franchise.
The Eagles fans do not deserve a Super Bowl. Sirianni has the second most punchable face in the NFL.
Yeah. With that being said, sure, sooner than later we'll start talking about some of these guys coming out of the draft, and you'll get our Rhinos roundup, right? Is what it was?
No, we'll do the mock draft roundup.
Mock draft roundup and all that gets going here after the combine and all that, and then we can really start getting the nitty gritty of the off season. So
yeah, but
once again, what's up?
I said just so Drew doesn't lose his mind, we're not going to be doing mock draft stuff for at least another month. So
yeah, until at least after the combine hits or whatever. So
yeah.
But yeah, with that being said, I enjoyed this evening. It's been a long time. It's been 3 weeks since we've had a studio show, I think. So it was nice getting back into the groove of things and seeing y'all back on here. And with that being said, we'll see you next weekend.
All right.
Let's go.
Have a good weekend, everybody.
That really grinds my gears.
Wrong button. Hold on, this one. Nope, not that one.
That really grinds my gears.